Hey buddy, so what if I tell you within the interface now you can start writing all of your business logic? Yes, in the interface now you can create method body also. Now you must be thinking that I'm stupid, but not totally, I'm not stupid totally. So with the release of C Sharp 8.0, Microsoft has given this capability to C Sharp that we as a programmer use C Sharp 8.0 to start writing business logic. Now why they have given such capability? There is a logic behind that. So we are going to talk about those logics, what we have gained with this. But one thing is for sure that our whole concept got changed. Microsoft can do anything, right? From the time we have started our career, we always knew that interface don't support the body, right? So let's go into this interesting area and let's explore this C Sharp new interface. Today we are going to use two different applications to understand this new interface concept. First, where we have to write down the old interface, this application that you see, lower C Sharp version. And second, we will use this application where we are going to write the new interface. Okay, now let's go back to this old application which is lower than C Sharp 8.0. First thing first, the interesting thing. In the old interface, we know that it can't support the body, and even if you try, you will start that it is complaining. The .NET C Sharp is complaining. Now let's undo that and let's try the same thing over there. So what I will do, let's copy the whole logic from here, copy this to this newer version and paste it here. Okay, now I'm going to write the body. Here you go. Oh, it's still complaining. Why? Because the string, it should say something. Not all code path returns a value, so I have to return something like this, right? Here you go. You see, within the interface you are able to create a method body. Now you can write whatever logic you wanted to write for this property method, but C Sharp 8.0 is supporting this feature. But if I jump into the other project where we try to create the method body, if you mouse over there, Microsoft is clearly giving us this message that default interface implementation is not available in C Sharp 7.3. Please use language version 8.0 or greater, right? So if I go for 8.0, so here you go, we have the body. So that is the first key difference. Now this is called something default method. Okay, so whenever there is such concept, we have to remember that this implementation is called default method implementation, right? Now in the other older .NET C Sharp, you can't even, let's undo this first and say semicolon. So this is happy now. Even over here, you can't declare any sort of, let's say, private as an access modifier. You will see it is not allowing that. The modifier private is not valid for this, and it is saying the same message. Please use the other version which is 8 or greater. Now let's try the same thing here. What I will do, I will try to make it private and let's see it works or not. Here you go, it works, right? So access modifier started working in the new interface which is inside C Sharp 8.0. Now interface, this new interface support both type of method with body, right, which is something new, but still it supports the old implementation as well. Now if I try to make the old implementation which is without body, let's change this to more property. The method name should be changed something else. So yep, it should be happy anytime. Why now? Oh, because this was the old implementation, right? String more property and it don't have body, so you can't declare the access modifier here. Here you go, right? So that is the key difference. Anything which is new like this one will support the body as well, this one will support the access modifier as well. But something which is old, which don't have the body, you can't even declare the body and you can't even declare the access modifier with that, right? So that is the second main difference. Okay, now let's go to back the old interface. So old interface, what we were doing here, let's try to understand this program that we have written. So what we are doing here, this is one interface which is my parent interface with I prefix. which has property method, then my uncle, which has again, which is again an interface which has the same method like property, right? So property of my parents and my uncle property. And this is myself, right? Myself as a class which is trying to implement both the interface. Why? Because C# don't support the multiple inheritance, and that is the reason I have to go for two interfaces like this way, right? And here you see we are implementing both the methods. And how it was working with interface name, because both the method name was same, property. That is why you see we have to do interface, right? Interface name and then method name. Interface name and then that method name, and that is how it differentiate, which method belongs to which interface. And that is all of us are already aware of such things. But is it going to behave the same thing in the new interface? Let's check that quickly. So let's go to the other project and let's see. Okay. So I see, something is complaining. So let's first of all, let's comment this method. Okay. So we will try to, do the same thing what we have done in the older .NET. So if we go to this myself class, the implementation is same. Only thing is it has body, right? And if I see here, myself class is implementing both the interface here. Now, again, I see the same thing because we have copy pasted for sure, that is why you see this method belongs to I my uncle interface and this method belongs to I my parent interface, right? And why it is start complaining? Because so it is completely saying that, property method is not found. But why it is saying I completely see this property? Maybe because of access modifier. So let's remove this private. So now see, yes, that was the actual reason. Okay, now let me show you one interesting thing. If I go here, right, the old interface over here, even if I try to, let's say I wanted to remove this I my parent, and here you go. The time you remove that interface name from here, it start complaining and it says my implementation is missing. I my parent, this property is missing. But will it work same way in the new interface? Let's go there. So in the new interface, this I my parent, let's try to remove I my parent. And you should see, it is completely working in the interface. But on the old interface, it was not working. It was trying to find this property method. And you know why it is happening? Because of the body. If something has body, it don't care, right? It don't care that implemented that or not. It automatically get that as a default method, right? So that means something which has a body, it is not necessary that you have to implement that within the class. Even if I comment it here, let's comment this, it would still be happy. You see, right? There is no complaint. But how about the method which don't have body? For example, my uncle. Okay, now let's undo the rest of the change. I my parent, and let's try to remove the interface from this method. Now I'm expecting that this should fail. Here you go. See, this I my uncle start complaining. The time I removed interface name from here, it start complaining. So that means something which have body, that is fine if you don't declare again, don't override again. But something which don't have body, that should be here. You need to define that. And the reason is, why? If something don't have body, what's the use of that method? Why even you need that in the interface if you don't want it to declare some method body? That is why it needs body here in the child class. Okay, so let me undo that now. Okay, so now this is happy, right? Okay. So that is the other difference. So one more thing that we have to check about old and new interface, that is about the variables. So we know in the old interface, let's make it happy. Let's undo those things in the old interface. We know that, in the old interface, we can't declare like a local field. So if I say this is my test field, it should not allow me, right? So it says interface cannot contain instance fields. How about the new interface? Cut it from here. Go there and let's try to create here. So this is my local variable, global variable within the interface, right? But it is local. Okay, so it says cannot contain instance, same thing. That means it is not allowing. But if I try to do within the method, for sure, because it is method, you can write anything within the method. So it is allowing here, right? So you see it is allowing here. Okay, now let's delete it. How about the property. So in the new interface, let's try to type down the property. So it should allow, I hope so. Let's see that. Yes, it is allowing. How about the old interface? Old interface was for sure it was allowing, right? So it is allowing. Okay, that is cool. Now, how you can access this method, that is the main important thing. So let's do something more interesting now. I will try to call these interface method and how it will work. So let's do one thing. Let's undo that, and let's say this is my parent property. So what it will say, let's say my parent, and I will say dollar, let's say this is the amount, right, which is returning from this property. Okay, now let's go to the implementation, the child class. Over here I will remove, let's comment this implementation now. Okay, now over here in the my uncle property method, let's try to return something with some different string for better understanding. I will say here my uncle, my uncle, this is my uncle property, and that was my parents property. Okay, now try to call. Okay, so let's go to program class and let's see how this is going to behave, how we can actually call this default method of interface, right? So let's go there because we don't have this implementation here of parent, right? Let's go there, and what we will do, so let's go there, let's try to create an object, and I will say this is my parent, and say what, let's say class. Which class? Class should be this myself class, right? And let's go there. Here you go. Okay, it should be happy now. And now what I will do, I will say my parent dot and what, property, right? This is for my parent. Now let's do the same thing for my uncle, and I will say this is my uncle class. Here you go. Here you go, and let's change the name here. So I will say my uncle, come on my uncle. Okay, you should be happy. I'm going to get all of your property, my uncle. Okay, so now let's try to run that. I will put a breakpoint here, put a breakpoint here. Okay, and now what I will do, let's put a breakpoint here and let's see where it goes. Okay, so let's execute and see how it behaves. Okay, so it is working now. Okay, here you go. So this is going inside the my parent property to get my parents property. Let's say F10. Here you go. It went into the default method, right? Because we don't have the implementation here. Okay, so it is here. Let's go ahead, and now it should go to get my uncle property, and here you go, it went here. Now this is fine, right? How about if I declare the body of my parent also? That means I'm overriding my parent property, right? And what I will do, even I will, let's remove this my parent and let's see how it behaves. So let's do the same copy paste here. Copy paste, here you go. Okay, yep. Put a breakpoint here, put a breakpoint there as well, and let's see how it behaves this time. Go ahead, come on, let's see. Is it going to behave same thing or not? Let's see what happened now. Here you go. It went to default method, right? Default interface method, not this one. Okay, that is cool. Here you go. So what we understand with this, that this is not going to work. And why? So that means, let's stop it. That means this property is not of your parent, right? If you wanted to get the parent property like old interface, you have to mention here. That means like this, right? Over here, this. And if you don't mention, that means this method only belongs to myself class. Then in that case, you have to access this property method through this class, not through interface, right? So let's do that, and let's undo and do come on. Here you go, right? Now let's see how it behaves. So what I'm doing here, I have breakpoint here on the default, and I have breakpoint here over the implementation where I'm overriding the parent property, right? So let's see how it behaves. Let's come on, go ahead. Okay, so let's go ahead. Here you go, right? So this time to this property, not the default property, right? So this is what we understand. Okay, cool. Let's stop this application now. That means, what we understand from this, that if you wanted to access this method, default method, you have to go through the concrete class. Concrete class is what? Child class, where it has been implemented already, right? Now, what we have gained through this implementation. Microsoft has given us such capability. So if you remember, in the old interface, what old interface was supporting, right? Let me jump into the old project. This is not that project. Let me open that lower version. Here you go. Okay. So if I go here, there was a problem of diamond shape problem, that in the grandparents I had this property, right? And then this same method was being implemented by my parents and my uncle, right? And in the myself class, first of all, for sure, I can't do such implementation, right? It will start shouting that you can't do the multiple inheritance. And why multiple inheritance not? Because C# was avoiding such problem, which was diamond shape problem. So trying to solve the diamond shape problem, but not actually. For example, Microsoft has given that, in the class you need multiple inheritance, you can go for multiple interface. But the drawback was interface don't have actually any logic, right? We have to depend on the child classes to implement the logic. But with the new release of C# 8.0, that problem has been completely solved. So if I go to the newer code, now here you can write down the all logic, right? Even here you can write down the whole logic, right? So if I go here and let's just copy paste, remove this one. So let's say both have their own implementation, right? And now when I need multiple inheritance, I don't need write any logic here. Here you go. You see, now it is happy. I'm able to use multiple inheritance and also the logic, right? So that is the one of the important problem that Microsoft has solved with this approach. I hope you enjoyed this something cool stuff. So that's all for today's video. I will see you in the next video.